What's going on, everyone? It's Rifle here, and thanks for checking out this Fallout 76 nuking experiment. Previously, we nuked Morgantown, the home of Vault-Tec University, and it was a great experience overall. Plenty of glowing ones to level up there, although I only saw one legendary enemy, and that was inside the Vault-Tec University. So I don't think it's really worth it to nuke if you're trying to get unique items. However, it had the most amount of glowing ones I have seen from a single nuke, and that is comparing it to White Springs. It's definitely a great location if you're looking for level ups. I did show a pretty good experience farm run you can do there as well to get a great amount of experience. And keep in mind, you can keep respawning the enemies over and over at a nuked area just by simply being on a team and then quitting out of Fallout 76 entirely, and then start it back up and choose the option to play with your team again. And if done correctly, when you respawn back into the game, the enemies will refresh in the area so you can keep getting loot and experience. Anyways, in this episode, I will be nuking 3 different locations, starting with the Wendigo Cave. This cave gives off a very sinister feeling with all the death you'll see laying around, especially where the Wendigo is located at in here. I can definitely see an interesting boss fight happening here. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Wendigo being here alone can be kind of challenging, but what if something even crazier happens when we nuke it? Anyways, I'll also be nuking the Deathclaws Cave, also known as Hopewell Cave. This place always spawns a Deathclaw inside. Typically it's only a level 31 Deathclaw that will spawn in here, but sometimes you can get a level 91 that will spawn without even nuking it. I thought this would be an interesting location to attempt checking out what happens after we nuke it. There's also a fisher site right outside of this area, and typically some scorched enemies with a scorched beast flying around. Lastly, I'll be hitting the Big Maw location on the map. This area has a very sinister feeling to it as well. It seems as if sacrificing happened here, and also you could tell from under the water of this area that there used to be something pretty big here. I'm guessing this might have been the Big Maw, but I'm not sure. All I really saw here to fight was a rad toad, or sometimes a gulper will spawn here. You know, it'd be crazy if one of these transformed into the Big Maw when we nuke this location, and it would have its own like special loot you could get from it. I don't know, that'd be just incredible to see in the game. Who knows, I mean, maybe if this doesn't actually happen when we nuke it, if we keep recommending these kind of fights to happen to Bethesda, they may actually implement it into the game in some kind of way. I mean, after all, there was quite a bit of files that was data mined in Fallout 76. There is apparently an event or a quest of some sort titled Momma Bear, and the description for it says a random encounter with an even larger than usual Yagwai and her cubs. Not sure if this was completely cut from the game or they have plans for this in some kind of way in the future. If so, that gets me excited. Also, something else that caught my eye that was data mined in the Fallout 76 files. Once again, none of this is going to be 100% in the game at some point, but it could be. And this was about nuking a specific area to trigger an event. Now this could actually be in the game, we just don't know about it. We do know about how we can trigger the Scorched Beast Queen event, but this event is called apparently the Glowing Swamp. As you can see, it is triggered by a nuke at a specific location, and it says to kill a specified number of creatures of the glowing variety during a rad storm. So this gets me even more curious about other areas we could try nuking to see what happens. Maybe they do have another event and we just haven't been curious enough to find it yet, because most of us just continue aiming for White Springs and Scorched Beast Queen. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are phenomenal places to be hitting if you are spending the time to officially be able to launch the nuke, because as we know, the nuke can be quite a bit of a process to launch. And it not only benefits you when you do officially launch it, but all the players in the game. So it can be kind of pressuring when you are launching, because you could potentially let all of the players down in that lobby because you just nuked at an area that's a complete dud. But yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and see what happens when we nuke these locations, starting with the Wendigo Cave. Okay, so outside of the Wendigo Cave, there was a few flora that you could pick up. I mean, nothing really too crucial. And there was a few other enemies here and there at other locations that was near the Wendigo Cave. But nothing, once again, too crucial. There wasn't that many whatsoever. Nothing compared to like White Springs or Morgantown or something. Going up to the cave, I did encounter a few glowing ones, which did get me excited about what's going to be coming in the future inside the area. I just didn't know for sure if they were actually going to turn into glowing ones inside the area or be able to be affected at all from the nuclear blast. Turns out my worrisome was wrong. They was affected from the nuke. I was thinking that they wasn't going to be. But yeah, as you can see, when you first go in, you do encounter a few other glowing ones as well. These used to be just feral ghouls in here. So yeah, if you didn't know, the nuke explosion affected things that were inside areas that required loading screens to get into. Well, now you know for future reference. This could lead to other possibilities for good areas to hit. But yeah, I did encounter quite a few enemies in here. Nothing really too much higher than what I would typically encounter just coming in here without it being nuked. Even the Myler King's levels seem to have stayed the same. Didn't really scale up for some reason. So seeing that just got me thinking that nothing is really going to happen when I get to where the Wendigo is at. And turns out, sadly, I was right. As you can see, here is the Wendigo fight when you go inside here. Nothing too different, so do not waste a nuke at this specific location because nothing is going to happen, sadly. This would have been awesome. But we still got 2 more areas to check out. Up next, we're going to be seeing what happens when we nuke the Deathclaws cave. A lot of people suggested for me to nuke Deathclaw Island. Sadly, I can't nuke that area, and the reason is because that, as you can see, is part of the green zone. And in case you didn't know, the green zone is the area that is completely protected from nukes, which makes sense. The reason why the developers added in this zone is to protect the players that are just starting out coming out of Vault 76. So I decided to nuke another area where I knew a Deathclaw would be at, which is located over at Hopewell Cave. It's the Skull Cave on the map. So this will also be hitting a fissure site as well. I'm interested in seeing what happens after we nuke here. I got a feeling we're going to encounter a bunch of enemies, seeming how there is a fissure site here we're also going to be hitting. Okay, so was this place really worth it to nuke? Simple answer, no. I mean, as you can see, yes, the Deathclaw did evolve into a glowing Deathclaw, level 91, but you can sometimes experience this regularly in the game without even having to nuke this location. I mean, something that was beneficial out of nuking this area, it did close up the fissure site, which was nice, but was there a ton more scorched enemies that spawned? No. Once again, it's pretty much the same experience when you come here without a nuke being here. However, something interesting that I did stumble upon was how much flora I was getting from the crops on the farmland. Now, there is other locations that have plenty more crops than just this preview that I'm giving you. But as you can see, this affected quite a bit of the crops and made it raw cobalt flux. As you can see, these are now called aftershock stalk. Now I'm sure there is another location that is way better to hit specifically for all kinds of flora. Raw crimson, the fluorescent, the violet, the yellow cake. I mean, there's quite a bit to collect, and in the future I may hunt for a great location to nuke to get plenty of flora to be able to craft specific things that require this flora specifically from the nuked blast zones. So it can be kind of time consuming to collect. But as you see, I got a ton of cobalt flux from this patch here near Hopewell Cave, and I know there is bigger farms out there than just this. Alright, so the last area that we'll be nuking in this video is the Big Maw. So we hit the Wendigo Cave, Hopewell Cave, aka the Deathclaw spawn cave, and lastly we're going to be hitting the Big Maw. Now at this area, it's pretty interesting. You can get a gulper to spawn here, as you can see. A glowing gulper spawned here, and you can also get a rad toad to spawn too. So let's go ahead and nuke this place already and see what the heck happens.
Attention, attention. Launch sequence activated. Launch to located. 15 seconds. All personnel should exit launch to immediately.
So here is what happened when I came to the Big Maw after I nuked it. Yeah, there was just a dead rad toad here. But when another player came here, that reset the enemies around in this area, and the rad toad did come back to life. So that was nice. I got to take out that rad toad. But other than that, this place is a complete waste of time to nuke. Definitely don't nuke this area. I will say though, it did tip a little bit of the treehouse village over there, and there was some enemies over there, but once again, not worth it over White Springs or Morgantown or the Scorched Beast Queen or Monongah. I mean, you get it. Not over those. Those have been the winter chicken dinners. This, however, none of these, oh my gosh. I guess from this we learned a little bit what not to nuke. And we also learned about the aftershock stalk, which by the way, the flora around in this area also was very slim. I mean, sure, you had your nuked flora here and there, but it wasn't overwhelming like the aftershock stalk that we experienced over by the Hopewell Cave. And I am certain that there is better locations to nuke with tons and tons of nuked flora to stock up on. And I'm going to be on the hunt for that for the next episode. But yeah, hopefully you understood why I chose each of these locations. I was hoping for some kind of larger fight to happen, like what happens when we nuke the Fisher Site Prime to spawn in the Scorched Beast Queen. Sadly, nothing like that happened with any of these locations, but at least we can just check them off the list now. I'm out of here though, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to watch and listen, and if you found this enjoyable, consider leaving a like. That's always greatly appreciated. As always though, that is totally up to you on whether or not you want to support this series. Until next time though, peace.